first official episode.
Here we are, the first episode.
The Art of Pokemon.
Welcome to the Art of Pokemon. Here we are. My name is David.
My name's Sav.
And through this process, we will be taking a look at all of the Pokemon, sort of doing some character analysis, both with their appearances and backgrounds and all of that. Functionality, the general, I guess, cohesiveness of their designs.
And your hosts are a boy who plays Pokemon and an art major who doesn't. So you're going to get a couple of interesting perspectives here. We're really going to talk about the actual art of the characters and art of the cards. Yes,
that's true. We have a card pack opening section to close our show. I'm excited to see your reactions to a lot of them, both whether they be for the first time or a return to some old ones that you might remember, because you did used to have cards, correct?
I did. So, yeah, I used to have Pokemon cards as a kid, and then my mom got rid of them all under the guise of she didn't know that I actually played with them. And then that's kind of how my journey with Pokemon ended, but I'm coming back into the scene. I've been learning a lot from David. But yeah, so we're going to have a good time here, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And so we have sort of decided that every 10 episodes we'll be doing the starters from each generation, which will get us up to 80 episodes, which is
not so bad.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, not so bad.
Yeah. So
a lot of rich material to work with.
Right. So to start, we're starting with the Gen 1s, so the oldest amongst them. So Gen 1, I would imagine, is probably the generation that you know the most about or remember the most about.
That I particularly know the most about?
Yeah, I would imagine that you will recognize the most Generation 1 Pokemon.
Which I think is true. And I think that goes for a lot of people who are not super knowledgeable about the Poke scene, just because they are kind of the most prominent characters from the series. So I think that this will be nice and easy for people who are not original Pokemon fans to follow, because you will recognize them too. Right.
Starting with Pokemon Pokedex number 001.
Of course.
Bulbasaur. How well do you know Bulbasaur?
I know him by face. I know that he is a grass type.
Right.
And that is just about it, so.
All right. I have a little bit of background on Bulbasaur right here. So Bulbasaur is known as the seed Pokemon. That is its sort of species designation.
Okay.
And it is a grass poison type.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is one of the very few first stage starter Pokemon that has a secondary typing to it from the get-go. A lot of them develop a secondary typing when they're in their later stages, but I think it is Bulbasaur, Rowlet, and those are the only two I know of that have a secondary typing from the beginning as a starter. So, do you know what a starter Pokemon is?
Vaguely. I know that there is always 3 of them. I know that there is always a grass, always a fire, and always a water.
Correct.
And I know that those evolve into other Pokemon, as they all do.
Yes.
And there you have it. That's all I know.
All right. So the sort of in-universe reason for starter Pokemon is that a starter Pokemon is a kind of Pokemon that is very, very rare in the wild, but it's very, very common in domestication.
Okay.
All starter Pokemon are bred by professional breeders for new trainers. So when you first become a trainer, you go to your local professor or Pokemon Center, and they will often hand out starters to new trainers. And the reason there is always a grass, a fire, and a water is that you are supposed to choose from one of them.
Mm-hmm. And we have.
Yes. So more about Bulbasaur. His Pokedex entry is that Bulbasaur can be seen napping in bright sunlight. There is a seed on its back. By soaking up the sun's rays, the seed grows progressively larger.
Okay.
Yes. So I like the little bulb on his back. I like that it's just kind of green.
Mm-hmm. Because and which I imagine we'll see in the evolutions, I know that does eventually bloom into a flower or other plant-like little creation. But I do like that in the beginning it is just because, there's nothing particularly fun about seeds in the wilds. They are very plain.
Yeah.
Which they keep in Bulbasaur's design. And I do like the fact that it matches the rest of his body.
Yes. So, if I were to ask you, what animal is Bulbasaur?
If I had to gunpoint, had to compare him to a real animal, I would say some sort of, it's so difficult. I would probably have to say a frog of some sort.
Yes.
Am I correct?
So this is a hotly debated topic, and we can talk about this all the way through the Bulbasaur lineage. But Bulbasaur, according to Ken Sugimori and Atsuku Nishida, who designed the Generation 1 Pokemon.
Sugimori is my favorite Pokemon artist, though. I will say that, is that most of my cards were Sugimori drawn.
Wow.
Yes.
Basically, Bulbasaur is based on a frog.
Mm-hmm.
And that Bulbasaur actually was the sort of last one to be designed out of the Bulbasaur lineage. So Venusaur was designed first, and then they worked backwards from that to get Bulbasaur, which is interesting to me. In fact, they talk about how, and we will see this with the rest of the starters, that all of the starters for Generation 1 are based off of animals that you could feasibly have as a pet.
Okay.
So in this case, a frog, and then we'll have a lizard and a turtle later on.
Oddly enough, the frog is the one that I would least guess would be a domestic pet. I don't think I've ever known anybody who's owned a frog.
Oh, I've known a few people who
really?
have a frog.
Very cool.
And the creator of Pokemon, Satoshi Tajiri, sort of got his inspiration for the franchise by collecting sort of insects and small amphibians and things out in the sort of... He lived in sort of the rural area outside of a major city, and he used to collect them and sort of write things about him in his notebook, where he got the idea for sort of catching and collecting and categorizing little creatures.
Which I like a lot, because I think that kind of captures the spirit of the game.
Yeah.
Like, most of the people that I know that do like Pokemon did grow up with that kind of, like, backyard fantasy kind of thing, like really going out and exploring the woods, like getting along with little critters and stuff. So I really like that as the background of the game.
Like all starters, Bulbasaur is very rare in the wild, but mostly lives in sort of grasslands and light foresty areas. So Generation 1 in particular takes place in the Kanto region.
Mm-hmm.
So Kanto is largely sort of grasslands, plains, and dispersed forests, things like that. All of the generations, their regions have very unique sort of geography to them and environments to them. And so across the Generation 1 Pokemon, we'll see a lot of Pokemon sort of built to survive in an environment like that.
Okay.
Which I believe is based off of the real-life region of Japan, also called Kanto. So, are you ready to move on to Bulbasaur's first evolution?
I would like to say first, now that we've addressed the fact that he is based on a frog, I like that when you look at the designs of Pokemon, you can see where the origins of that are, but they changed it enough so it's vaguely familiar, but you still maintain this idea of a fantastical creature. Like, this is representational of a frog because the eyes are kind of far apart. The mouth is very wide, but they've added things like the tiny teeth, the little ears,
fangs.
and given him paws rather than little sticky hands that frogs jump around on.
So when I was a kid, I thought that the Bulbasaur lineage was based off of a very different animal.
Which is?
And in fact, I've been very anti-frog for a very long time. I think that their ecology is very unlike that of a frog in many ways. I mean, they're very clearly reptiles.
Okay.
Like they very clearly, like, they have these claws and these teeth and like ears. And
so if you had to choose, what would you have said?
I thought that they were based off of like dinosaurs. I thought that, like, very specifically the Scutosaurus, which isn't a true dinosaur. It's just prior to the dinosaurs. But when I was a kid, I always thought that they were sort of inspired by that.
Well, you had asked me an animal, so I thought that we were talking about, like, a now animal. David is our resident dinosaur expert, so
and we do
no
see
surprise
more.
there.
We do see an element of more out there inspirations with the other starters that we will get to. Do you remember the name of what Bulbasaur evolves into?
You said it like 1 minute ago, didn't you? I know that there's a Venusaur in there, but I know that there's another one. Is there another one before that?
Yes. Maybe
scroll down and I'll remember. It's Ivysaur.
Ivysaur. What do you think of Ivysaur?
Based purely around, like, you know, from an evolutionary standpoint, I like this one a lot because I think that it maintains, like, you know, it's still recognizable as an evolution of Bulbasaur, but it has begun to bloom. And I have a very vague, hazy memory in my head of what Venusaur looks like.
Right.
And I know that that is much more grown over and plant-like.
Yeah.
So when you only have 3 characters to make this evolution over, like, you have to kind of, like, get down to business. So the flower still stays small, but it has bloomed in a timely fashion so that it can, you know, get big by the time the last evolution rolls around. But I like this one a lot. I also like that the color of his body kind of changes a little bit.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, he's more greenish, like the sprout on his back, but now he's kind of grown into, like, a blue tealish color.
Yeah, I really like the color of these guys.
Me too.
I also like I like what they've done with the eyes as well. They've sort of gained this sharpness. And that is a very, like, Generation 1 eye shape for Pokemon. We're going to encounter a lot of Pokemon that have this sort of triangle eye to them. I like that the ears have depth to them now. I think that does a lot more to make it feel angular. I think Bulbasaur feels very soft and very round, but I like the angles on Ivysaur.
Which I think is the goal of a lot of evolutions, is they try to make the babies a lot rounder and softer because you have to know based on looking at them what stage in the evolution it is. And that also goes along with actual evolution of people and of animals, because you do, you know, lose baby fat as you get older, and you do get more angular, which is what they've done here.
So Ivysaur is also known as the seed Pokemon.
Okay.
And its dex entry is, there is a bud on this Pokemon's back. To support its weight, Ivysaur's legs and trunk grow thick and strong. If it starts spending more time lying in the sunlight, it's a sign that the bud will bloom into a large flower soon.
Sorry, I'm just looking at him.
That's all right. Its natural habitat is also sort of plains and grasslands area. I imagine that these guys, despite having, like, teeth to them, I imagine that their nutrients come from photosynthesis.
I would imagine so too, because I think that that's why they include the detail about it spending more time lying in the sunlight.
Right.
So I like that they've gone out of their way to acknowledge their behavior in conjunction with their design. So by acknowledging that, you know, their behavior changes as their evolution does.
Right.
I think that that is an important detail to add. And I like the fact that they've shaped it like a bud rather than a flower.
Yeah.
So that it can be recognized as an initial stage and that there is one to come.
Ivysaur specifically also makes me realize that I really don't know how the flower is attached to the body.
I would imagine that it's just kind of...
Like, is it growing out of the body? I
think so, because to go back to the behavior again, like if the animal itself starts spending more time lying in the sunlight, that must mean that it has like a physical need to.
Yeah, so it's one organism,
yes,
the flower and,
yes.
the animal part.
I would guess so. Yeah, and also in its abilities on the Pokédex, it also says that it has the ability to overgrow.
Right.
So that would indicate that the flower is a part of their body.
Yeah, with grass types, a lot of the times grass types just sort of are a plant.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a few of them like this that either have plants attached to them or, I don't know, in some cases, like Decidui, which is the Gen 7 starter, it's just kind of green.
Mm-hmm.
Not really that much done to make it sort of plant-esque. So any more thoughts on Ivysaur before moving on to Venusaur?
I think I'm ready to move on to Venusaur.
All right.
Nice.
Venusaur. Number 003 is a grass poison type, and its dex entry is, there is a large flower on Venusaur's back. The flower is said to take on vivid colors if it gets plenty of nutrition and sunlight. The flower's aroma soothes the emotions of people.
Love that.
So, any first reactions to seeing Venusaur for the first time?
I think that it is very well evolved in both the plant on its back and its actual body.
Yeah.
So it's lost the spots that Bulbasaur and Ivysaur had. But the thing that I like is that when they changed Ivysaur's color to blue from Bulbasaur's green, they also blended in the spots a little bit, which indicated that they were fading away and would not be present in the third evolution,
right? Which
they haven't. But they have bulked up the legs significantly.
Yeah,
he is thick. He's chunky.
Also has developed in place of those spots bumps or warts of some kind,
which I also like, because since it is since it is based on a frog, it takes on less of a frog-like texture and more of like a toad. Which I like a lot, because toads are also thought to be a lot bigger than a traditional frog. He's grown more. Well, I don't know if he's necessarily grown more teeth, but it certainly shows more teeth. The claws have gotten a little bit bigger. And the face, again, is a lot sharper. So he does have some edges on him.
I like the eyes a lot on Venusaur. When I think about Venusaur, the eyes are one of the things that I remember most, just because they sort of have this, like, round, but the roundness still has, like, kind of edges, so they're nearly hexagonal in a way.
And you usually do see Venusaur with the eyelids, like, kind of half closed, which I also like because he looks a little more old and grizzled.
Right.
But let's talk about the flower a little bit, because I think that, this is kind of his crowning jewel. I like that it grows into a full flower.
Yeah.
So it's not, it has a trunk. It's not even just like the bud opened up. It actually sprouts an entire, like, trunk out of his back. I also like that in the center, it kind of has taken on the shape of a crown a little
Yes,
bit. I think that's a nice detail.
And Venusaur is the first Pokemon that we have encountered, I believe, that has a sort of large difference in appearance between its genders. Male Venusaur, the center of the flower is kind of empty except for the sort of yellow crown.
Mm-hmm.
Female Venusaur has this sort of sprout or
Bit of an egg shape.
sort of cone sticking out of the front of the flower. I actually don't know when this was added because in Generation 1, in the original Red, Blue, and Green games, their Pokemon didn't have genders to them.
Okay.
They were added in Generation 2 when a breeding mechanic was added. But I believe gender differences were added around Gen 3 and 4. Sort
Okay.
of sprite differences.
When
When we get to Pikachu, Pikachu's one is pretty cute.
Yeah. I also would like to point out that the picture that we have pulled up to show the gender difference also shows us something that the Pokédex picture does not, which is the fact that it can, like, shoot stems out
Yes.
as, like, either a defense mechanism or a weapon of sorts.
Yes, one of my notes that I have here is Venusaur has demonstrated the ability to manipulate nature, releasing several vines from its back, and has been known to lead evolution ceremonies for Bulbasaur and Ivysaur.
Ooh, I like that.
Yes. Every member of the Venusaur line can sort of use these vines. I think if you watched the anime when you were a kid, Vine Whip with a Bulbasaur was what we saw the most often.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this illustration of Venusaur picking up a Marill is pretty good. Unlike Bulbasaur, Venusaur's ears have hollows, indicating that they are in fact ears and not glands, as seen in many species of frogs and toad.
Mm-hmm.
Found that pretty interesting. This Pokemon, like the others, is rarely found in the wild, but has been known to inhabit grasslands or sort of open meadows.
Okay.
Yeah. So any final thoughts about Venusaur, grass poison? Oh, Venusaur is actually also, surprising to many, it is the largest of the final evolutions for the Generation 1 Pokemon, bigger than both Charizard and Blastoise.
Really?
Yes.
That is surprising.
Yes.
Can we at some point pull up a comparison picture
We can.
of that? Because I am finding that very hard to believe. Isn't Charizard like a dragon?
Charizard is a dragon.
Ah, okay. All right.
When we get to how... So, we will discover as time goes on. Pokédex is not often the most reliable narrator. In Generation 1, the Pokédex references Indian elephants numerous times, sort of as a bar for a Pokemon's abilities. Like, I believe it says that Raichu can generate enough electricity to kill an Indian elephant or something like that, which, as you might imagine, things like that just aren't referenced in Pokemon. Both a Pokemon killing an animal, but also an actual real-world animal. Like, just...
Yeah, that is an odd comparison to make.
Yeah, as time goes on, things sort of begin to make more sense. Generation 1 is very good, but you can also see how how stressful things must have been during production.
I would imagine so.
Yeah. A fun fact about Satoshi Tajiri is that in order to get the game made, he went off pay for himself for a lot of the process so that he could keep paying his programmers.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, he's a good dude. So, are you ready to move on?
Are we gonna rate these guys now, or are we gonna do that all at the end?
So let's rate these guys all now before we move on to the next fellows.
Okay.
So now that we can see all three of them, do you want to start with Bulbasaur?
Yes. Boy,
Alright.
do I. I'm probably gonna give Bulbasaur a 8.
All right, that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
I think I would also give Bulbasaur an 8 out of 10.
Okay, good. Also, worth saying that when we do rate these dudes at the end, we do have to come up with an agreed upon score.
Yeah.
So there will be some discrepancies. There will be live arguments between the two of us. But we'll duke it out.
Yeah.
We'll negotiate, and we
Right.
will come up with the same score.
Right.
Eventually.
So for Ivysaur, gonna give a 7.2.
7.2.
Yes.
I would probably go closer to maybe 7.6.
All right.
Between 7.6 and 7.7. I'm curious. Why would you give a 7.2? I'm curious.
I just think that Ivysaur, the things that I really like Ivysaur might be my favorite middle stage starter overall.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ivysaur just looks cool.
Yeah.
But the things that are good about Ivysaur, I think, are more and better in both Bulbasaur and Venusaur.
Okay, that's fair. Do we want to...
7.4?
7.4 was what I was thinking.
Yeah, 7.4. Venusaur, what's your take?
I'm personally going to give this one an 8.5.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I like this one a lot.
I like Venusaur a lot as well. 7.9.
7.9.
Yeah.
Can we do 8.2? 8.1, 8.2?
Yeah, let's do 8.2.
8.2. All right.
Pretty good.
And we keep a note of these? We keep a
Yes.
note of these scores because we
Yes.
will probably make a comprehensive list of all the scores
I'm
so that
make
we can
an Excel document.
Yeah. And like maybe this can culminate in one of those what is it? What are those?
The ranking systems?
Like the flow charts that they do for like
Yeah.
WWE or like the Kentucky
Yeah.
Derby or something.
Right.
The Grand Smackdown,
Yeah.
the Poke Smackdown.
Welcome to Pokemon number 004, Charmander.
Mm-hmm.
Charmander is the lizard Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
and he is a fire type. Height of 2 feet, which is more than I thought that he was. I always pictured him being a little bit smaller, but so the Dex entry. The flame that burns at the tip of its tail is an indication of its emotions. The flame wavers when Charmander is enjoying itself. If the Pokemon becomes enraged, the flame burns fiercely. So, based on that, we sort of know that the flame can be used as an indication of Charmander's sort of mood and health.
Mm-hmm.
It burns brightly when the Pokemon is strong or weakly when it's exhausted, and it is said that Charmander dies if the flame goes out. However, if the Pokemon is healthy, the flame will continue to burn even if it gets a bit wet, and it also is said to just steam if it's caught out in the rain.
So, that being said, how does it get extinguished?
I think I can speak for everyone when I say thankfully that has never been depicted on screen or anything. However, we'll have to talk about the Pokemon manga sometime. Pokemon get cut in half, frozen, and then smashed into pieces.
Jesus.
Like, there's a weird sort of reference to someone having relations with their tentacruel.
No.
Yeah. The Pokemon manga is off the chain. Like, it's ridiculous.
Well, that is not what's happening here today.
No, not at all.
We'll make a separate sad episode for that.
Yes.
We're going to have to put a lot of trigger warnings on that.
So Charmander can be found in sort of hot and mountainous areas. However, it is found far more often in the ownership of trainers, as it is a starter Pokemon. And as shown in a spin-off game called Pokemon Snap, where you took pictures of Pokemon. Charmander exhibits pack behavior, calling other members of its species if it finds food. So Charmander has actually gone through a few different changes in its appearance, chiefly being that in Generation 1, it had like a spike on its back.
Oh, I see that, yeah.
This was also in the games that you could see the spike, but the spikes were not shown in later generations.
All right.
Yeah, so Charmander, much like Bulbasaur, was based on Charizard. So they started with Charizard and worked backwards. In particular, Charizard was designed as a lizard, possibly referencing the mythical salamander as opposed to the real-world salamander. So the sort of myth of the salamander is that it is a fire spirit capable of surviving in extreme heat or flames, and that it's sometimes creatively rendered or interpreted to look more lizard-like. I think it's also based off of the older idea that salamanders bred in fireplaces and things like that.
Yeah.
So that's sort of where the name comes from as well.
I like him a lot.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking about it. I kind of like the idea of working backwards from the third evolution.
Yeah.
Because if you have a vision of where you want this character to go, like if you already know where you want it to go, you have to be able to realistically think about what would take them there.
Right.
So by working backwards, you're starting with their maximum.
Yeah.
And then, like, I would imagine it's easier to work backwards from there.
Yeah.
But I like him a lot, especially this picture that we see here, which you guys can see in the video. He also has a bit of a dinosaur-like quality, like a baby dinosaur.
Yeah.
Because his top, I don't even know whether to call them paws or not. Like his top two, he has little baby hands.
Yeah.
Which I love. And they are different from his feet, which are more like actually foot-like with little claws.
Right.
Can I ask you, does he ever go on all fours? Like, is that how does he move?
I don't believe so. He moves bipedally.
Yeah, which I like too, because it is based on a lizard, which I don't think that in nature that is what they do.
I think that there are a few lizards that can, but not usually.
Yeah. I also like the fact that it kind of, while maintaining lizard-like qualities, it kind of contradicts a lot of what I think people typically think of lizards as being about. Like, right. I usually imagine lizards being in more wet environments.
Yeah.
Whereas he is described as being in mountain environments, and he has fire on his tail, which I would argue is the opposite of water. But I like that the functionality of the flame on the tail is kept so minimal in the design, but it still says a lot about him as a character. So, it's very basic in design. Like, he has like a little candle tail, but it is everything that he is, like, his entire functionality is based off of that.
Yeah.
So I think that is incorporated really well into the way that they actually made him.
I really like Charmander's eye color. I think that
I was actually going to say that too.
Black and blue is interesting. And I don't know. I like Charmander, but I think that out of all of the first stage Gen 1 starters, it suffers the most from having the least going on for it.
Which I know I understand that standpoint too. Yeah. Actually, also commenting on the color of the eyes, I liked this about Bulbasaur too, and I think that this is something that they do pretty carefully. So they did this with Bulbasaur too. They use complementary colors as part of their body versus their eyes.
Yeah.
So Bulbasaur's entire body is green, but they give him red eyes. But Charmander is orange, and they give him blue. And think that that is done purposefully because both of those are complementary colors on the color wheel. So I think that it gives him a little something that stands out while maintaining the overall same palette on the rest of his body.
Are you ready to move on?
Absolutely.
Charmeleon. Charmeleon is undoubtedly the biggest asshole out of the middle stages.
I can tell by this stance that we see him in here.
Number 005, Fire type, the Flame Pokemon. Dex entry is: Charmeleon mercilessly destroys its foes using its sharp claws.
Nice.
If it encounters a strong foe, it turns aggressive. In this excited state, the flame at the tip of the tail flares with a bluish-white color. They're also based off of lizards, and they live in sort of rocky mountains. And something that I read that I liked is that it is said that sort of along the mountainscapes where Charmeleon live, that their fiery tails sort of shine at night like stars.
Yeah, no, this looks like just one rude dude, you know?
Yeah.
I do like the fact that he got a little bit, to contradict what we said about Bulbasaur, he got a little bit too sharp.
Right.
So, like, a lot of his sweetness has really worn off, and he's a little bit muscular.
Yeah.
Which I don't love because I think of him more as like an angry toddler.
Right.
So he's got a little bit of a temper. But I do like the fact that he grew this, not appendage, but he's grown something on his head.
Yeah, like a crest or a horn of some kind.
Yeah. And his face has also kind of sprouted outward a little bit.
Yeah, he has more of a snout now.
Snout. I was thinking really hard about what to call that, and I was like, I know I can't call it a beak, but yeah. So
it is kind of beak-like.
It is
in
a
many
bit
ways.
beak-like, yeah. But yeah, I'll be honest, I don't love him.
Yeah.
I don't love him. He's not my favorite. And this, I would say, between these starters, this is my least favorite middle evolution. I don't like this one that much. But I think that, you know, from the neck up, I like what they've done with them.
Yeah. Because
they have done the same thing with the eyes. They've made them a little bit more triangular, a little bit angrier. But yeah, from the neck down, he's a little
He's kind of just bulkier Charmander from the neck down.
Yeah, I think that's what I don't totally like. Yeah. I do like the color change.
It is a little darker, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of a reddish orange rather than a yellowy orange. So I do like what they've done there.
Yeah. And
I do like that they include the change of the fire. So for they don't mention for Charmander the bluish white color. But I like that they include that for Charmeleon.
Yeah. Are you ready?
I am.
Do you remember who the final evolution is called?
Could it be Charizard?
It sure is Charizard, possibly after Pikachu, the most well-known Pokemon. Charizard, number 006. So Charizard is a fire flying type. Have you noticed what type Charizard isn't?
Oh no, is this a trick question?
It's not.
What type he isn't?
Yes.
Dragon?
He is not a dragon type. You're correct.
Cool.
Which is, much to the chagrin of many, he is not a dragon type.
That does not make a lot of sense.
No.
It really doesn't. Why is that?
I think it's because in Generation 1 there was only one dragon type family, and they wanted to keep it special. As time has gone on and many other Pokemon have been awarded the dragon type, which is I think next to ghost type is among the rare types. Many Pokemon have been given dragon type, but that certainly deserve it less than Charizard.
Yeah, he's been snubbed a little bit.
There's one in particular that I think that I would very much like to try and make you guess what type it is when we get to it.
Okay.
So, the Dex entry says, Charizard flies around the sky in search of powerful opponents. It breathes fire of such great heat that it melts anything. However, it never turns its fiery breath on any opponent weaker than itself. Which I think is pretty nice of a characterization. Pretty different from Charmeleon, who is just very, very angry.
Yeah. I like that. It's respectable.
Its fiery breath is capable of melting boulders, massive glaciers, and has been known to accidentally cause forest fires. Charizard...
Everybody has their flaws, huh?
Charizard typically inhabit mountains and valleys. Very specifically, we see in the anime the Charcific Valley in Johto.
Mm-hmm.
So Johto is another region that is literally right next to Kanto.
Yeah.
Like, you can walk from Kanto to Johto.
Okay.
Something interesting is that Charizard can swim underwater. So the flames on the tip of the tail can still keep burning underwater.
Mm-hmm.
And the wings of Charizard are said to be able to carry it to an altitude of 4,600 feet.
Wow.
Yeah. So, if you'll notice the height of Charizard...
Wait a second.
It's 5'7".
That's only a little bit taller than me.
It is. I am taller than Charizard.
Does that make you feel stronger?
It doesn't,
No,
because I wish
doesn't.
that I wasn't. I would. The heights of Pokemon are always absolutely wild to try and figure out. Like when we get to Wailord's length compared to its weight means that it is less dense than air.
Whoa.
Which I think might be on purpose, because Wailord is kind of shaped like a blimp. But Wailord still swims underwater.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely like to see a picture of Charizard and Venusaur next to one another, because I do not remember how tall Venusaur is, but I know that he weighed...
Six something?
Wow. But I do know that he weighed about 220 pounds, which is...
How much does Charizard weigh?
199.
Wow.
So there is a bit of a discrepancy there. Wow.
Yeah. So,
a significant difference.
Yeah, so... Blastoise seems to be the smallest of the starters. But yeah, it is very surprising to me that Charizard is a little guy. Like he's legitimately like smaller than most people that would listen to this.
Yeah. Blastoise actually almost it's probably just cuz he's bulkier, but he actually looks a little bit bigger than Charizard.
Yeah, I imagine that he weighs more.
Yeah, definitely. Wow. Well.
Now, I mean, what their Pokemon deck says their height is compared to what they are actually depicted as is very different.
Okay.
Like, Charizard is usually depicted as being like considerably taller than most people, and on par with the heights of other much taller Pokemon. And that same goes with both Venusaur and Blastoise too. Like all of the starters are depicted as being pretty big.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the design of Charizard?
I like Charizard. I really do. I would like to comment on one thing.
Yeah.
His arms got some kind of thing going on. Like, if you just kind of blocked out the arms, like, I would be like, this is a beast. Like, this thing's pretty cool. His arms just look kind of goofy.
A little bit,
like, they look like, it looks like the rest of him grew, and the arms didn't. It looks like they stayed the same size.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Yeah, but other than that, I do like the fact that he grew a significantly longer tail. I like the fact that they made the wings the same teal color as the eyes.
Yes.
I like that a lot because, again, they're bringing that color balance into the actual body rather than just keeping it as a smaller detail.
Right.
I also like that throughout all 3 evolutions, they overall kept the fire the same.
Yeah.
So, I think that adds a little bit of unity to it. I know that, there are things that they could have done, such as, maybe add flames to other parts of the body. Like with the crests on the wings, that kind of match the ones on the head, which I actually like. They could have put flames there, but it would have been unnecessary. It would have been a little bit too much. But I like that they kept that the same because it's still recognizable as the same character.
Yes. And I like the design of the wings. I think they're very dragon-like. I like how angular they are and sort of like, they look like they're mid-fold.
Yeah, I thought so too. Are there pictures of Charizard with the wings folded in all the way?
I believe so.
Because if there is, I don't think that I've ever seen what they look like when they're not out all the way.
Maybe there isn't. Maybe he might just kind of keep them out in the back. I think that he can fold them like a little bit, but I think for the most part they are just kind of hanging behind him at most points.
I think that the like as you just commented, I think that the wing design is a little bit interesting because he's got a pretty big body.
Yeah, he's got a big belly too. For a scary dragon, he's got a big round belly.
Yeah, and the tail, I imagine, probably carries a lot of his weight too.
Yeah.
And the wings are very sharp and angular, but they're almost like
tiny.
bat wings. So it's kind of like a bee's wings, where it's like you wouldn't imagine that they would, be able to carry that whole thing.
Right.
And that's kind of the same way that I feel about Charizard. I kind of wish the wings were a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
But overall, I like him.
Yeah.
He just needs to, he needs his arms to get a little bit more buff. But
do you want to rate them?
Yes.
All right. So, starting with Charmander.
I'm gonna say probably 7.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I was gonna go with too.
7?
Yeah.
Very good. All right. We have not really had a whole lot of disagreements this round.
Yeah, I feel like, especially this one, these are the most classic of the Pokemon.
Yeah.
So, like, when we get into the more niche ones, the less known ones, I think that it's going to be more disagreement. But
Okay.
Charmeleon, 6.2.
I was going to say 5.5.
Wow, all right.
I don't like him.
5.7.
That's fair.
All right.
5.7.
Yeah. Charizard.
I would like you to go first.
I would like you to go first.
All right. I can't believe the show's been canceled after only one episode. Go. Tell me.
No, I would like your take on this first.
I'm going to say 6.6.
6.6 for
6.6.
Charizard.
I wish that the wings were bigger. I don't think that they would carry that. I don't think they'd carry his body.
For possibly the most popular Pokemon of all time.
I like him.
6.6.
I like him.
Yeah.
Okay? I do like him.
Yeah.
But based purely upon functionality,
right.
those wings are like they're like paper mache. They could not pick him up.
I was going to go like 7.8.
Wow. 7.8.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because I feel like the design of Charizard is pretty classic. I feel like Charizard is... I like the simplicity of it. I like the color. And we didn't really mention this before, but like, even though he is a scary fire dragon, none of the colors are threatening.
They're not. And this is true.
I like that. So I was going to go like 7.8. Maybe we can go 7.4. 7.4, 7.3.
You've made a decent case for this, because I also wasn't really thinking about color too much for Charizard, besides the fact that they balanced it out with the wing color. But it isn't threatening, and that goes along with what we said about his character.
Yeah.
That he, doesn't use it on characters weaker than him, which I think makes
powerful,
him a benevolent figure.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So what are we going with? 7.4?
7.3, 7.2.
Let's go 7.5.
7.5. All right.
7.5.
All right. On to number 007, Squirtle.
Category tiny turtle. Absolutely.
Yeah. Squirtle is the tiny turtle Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
It is a water type. The Dex entry. Squirtle's shell is not merely used for protection. The shell's rounded shape and the grooves on its surface help minimize resistance in water, enabling this Pokemon to swim at high speeds.
I love him.
So, does anything about Squirtle's design sort of seem odd to you at all?
The tail.
Yes.
The tail is a little,
Yeah.
It's almost like a squirrel's tail in a few ways. Like, it's very big and curly, and, turtles just don't have that.
Right. So, Squirtle's line, other than turtles, are based off of a Japanese legend called the Minogame, which is a turtle that is said to live for 10,000 years, and it has grown a tail of seaweed. So that's sort of where the swirly shape of the tail comes from. And I think that inspiration is most seen in Wartortle.
Okay.
Which we will get to after this.
Okay.
So Squirtle, like the other starters, not really found in the wild very often.
Mm-hmm.
A mostly domesticated species, but when it is in the wild, it seems to prefer ponds and lakes, though it has been seen to also be found on secluded islands where it sort of lives in colonies.
Okay. I think Squirtle might be my favorite of the first stage of these starters. I kind of like that they keep the babies' faces kind of the same shape.
Yeah.
I think, like, if you look at him in comparison to Charmander and Bulbasaur, like, they have the same face pretty much.
Yeah,
and
round, big eyes.
Very wide mouth.
Yeah, wide mouth with a little smile.
Yeah. I like that a lot because I think that there's enough distinguishing features to make them different, but then they're real, their changes happen in the evolution, which I think is pretty accurate. I like knowing the context of the tail now, but I will say I wish that were clearer.
Yeah.
Like, I wish that it were a little bit more seaweed-like, because then I think that it would come off less as, like, what is that animal called? A platypus.
Right.
Like, a platypus has, like, kind of a
big flat beaver tail.
Looks a little bit like that.
Yeah. Also, the curl itself is weirdly shaped because the outline of the tail is one big shape.
Exactly.
But the curl seems to imply that it's like curled within itself, but it also recedes behind the curl.
Which makes it look a little bit more like a paddle of some sort.
Yeah.
But other than that, he's real good.
Yeah.
Like, they keep the colors very natural.
I very much like this blue.
Yes,
this
me
blue
too.
Is very good. And I think the belly color is almost the same as Charmander's belly color.
It is. But I do like that they keep the colors so natural.
Yeah.
And like the other ones, they give him a nice eye color so that he does have that a little bit of contrast.
Yeah. I will say that is a very turtle eye. Like, sea turtles have eyes that look a lot like that.
Yeah, I thought so too. But yeah, I like him a lot.
Nice.
I really do. I like him.
On to number 008. War Turtle.
Mm.
So, first reactions to War Turtle.
I find this very interesting. They've kept the the shell part of the body pretty much exactly the same. Colors haven't changed, shape hasn't changed. They've given his skin more of a purple hue, so he's kind of a periwinkle color now. Again, they've given him angry eyes, so staying consistent there. He's grown claws on his hands, not on his feet, which is a little bit interesting. I like the way that they've evolved the tail, except for a couple things. They've changed the color of the tail a lot.
Yeah.
Like, they've changed it a lot, but in Squirtle's design, the tail is the same color as the body.
Right.
So to change the body to this purple color, but change the tail to a, like, very kind of powdery blue doesn't make a ton of sense. And also, there was nothing on Why are you laughing?
Because I've just seen that you've noticed the ears.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is my final point, is that there was nothing on Squirtle to suggest that these big feathery ears were going to sprout out. So I don't really know where those come from.
Yeah. For me, this is a very interesting experience, sort of second-guessing designs that, for me, have always been that way.
Yeah.
That, like, when I was a kid, I just sort of looked at and went, well, yeah, fine.
That's just how it is.
So
You were gullible.
It's true. They tricked me into turtle ears. So, where Squirtle was the tiny turtle Pokemon, War Turtle is the turtle Pokemon.
Oh, was I supposed to say that? Oh. You hesitated.
No, that's all right. I was pausing for effect. You can say it if you like.
Turtle.
There you go. So, its dex entry is, its tail is large and covered with rich, thick fur. The tail becomes increasingly deeper in color as War Turtle ages.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. That's completely false. Am I wrong? That is completely false.
As far as I know, War Turtle has never been depicted with a deeper color tail. The scratches on its shell are evidence of this Pokemon's toughness as a battler. So, an older War Turtle may have scars or algae growing on its shell. Sort of poking out the bottom of the shell is a thick and wavy tail that also has a light blue fur and cannot be fully withdrawn into the shell. Its tail is a popular symbol of longevity and good luck, and so this Pokemon is very popular amongst the elderly.
Okay.
And so to maintain balance while swimming at high speeds, War Turtle is said to move its furry ears and tail as a rudder or balancing rod. Air can be stored in its tail for extended underwater diving. It hides in water when hunting and emerges to surprise prey. The anime has shown that War Turtle can also be seen living in colonies on islands, but, like Squirtle, prefers ponds and lakes.
Okay. So there's a little bit of functionality in there.
Yeah.
That's true. But it doesn't totally come across in the design, and they have straight up lied to us in the Pokédex. Do you know what deeper in color means?
We have our first straight up lie from the Pokédex.
Yeah, I have contacted the authorities, but yeah, you know, a strongly worded letter is the next move, because that just isn't true.
Right.
It's not that big of a deal. I'm not that mad, but I'm a little bit mad. Because deeper in it completely is not. It just isn't true.
Right.
But now I'm eager to see our third boy.
Right.
So that, you know, maybe this could be cleared up.
Yeah, to see what becomes of the tail.
What becomes of the tail.
So if we're going to use the ears as, like, basically pectoral fins, I would rather they be, like, sharper, so it looked like they were made for speed. Those look like they would weigh you down.
They look more like feathers.
Yeah.
Too. But yeah, no, that is true.
Yeah. On to Blastoise, number 009.
And the con is on.
Yes.
They have completely abandoned the seaweed tail, and now it's just a turtle's tail. And this has grown deeper in color from the first one. They went in the wrong direction.
Right.
Oh boy, howdy.
So Blastoise is the shellfish Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a little weird.
Because it is not a shellfish.
It's not a shellfish. It has a shell. It is a water type. It is the only one out of the Gen 1 starters that, when fully evolved, does not have a secondary typing. So it's Dex entry. Blastoise has water spouts that protrude from its shell. The water spouts are very accurate. They can shoot bullets of water with enough accuracy to strike empty cans from a distance of over 160 feet.
Okay.
So it's said that these powerful cannons on the Pokemon on the back are capable of producing water blasts that can pierce steel and concrete and can be used for high-speed charges. Blastoise deliberately makes itself heavy to withstand these powerful blasts and to crush its opponents, as it says. Blastoise has been known to take the role of a leader in the aforementioned colonies of Squirtle and Wartortle, and it, like its pre-evolutions, seems to prefer freshwater ponds and lakes.
Okay. This frustrates me greatly.
Which part of it?
Oh, a few things.
I think I know what you're talking about, but what you say.
So the tail does frustrate me a lot.
Yeah.
It does, because it really was going somewhere. So
Right.
Once I found out about the seaweed aspect of it,
Yeah.
despite, the color discrepancy, it really was going somewhere. So it grew from one tiny sprout of a seaweed into more of a, like a plant. And they kind of abandoned that here, which is a little bit frustrating. I do like the change in color. I like that the body has grown into more of a deep blue.
Yeah.
The face changed a lot.
A lot.
So like
in fact, it seems to have Ivysaur seems to have given his ears to Blastoise.
Ivysaur has given his ears to Blastoise?
Yeah, look at those ears. Those are practically the same ears as Ivysaur.
Oh, you're right. You're right. And also, what happened to the
all of the fur seems to have just completely gone. There are a few evolutions like this where the middle stage, it looks like it's from a completely different group of Pokemon.
Yeah, it's just, if Squirtle had like a lot of fur.
Yeah, and it got like bald over time.
Yeah, and then eventually it would make sense for it to disappear. But it grew in the middle stage and then completely disappeared in the third one. Not 100% sure where the water spouts came from. There wasn't a lot of suggestion of that in the other ones. But I like them. Yeah. I think that they're cool.
They are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Something that's always kind of bothered me about Blastoise's cannons.
Mm-hmm.
They are kind of just metal, full, real, military-ass cannons coming out of its back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the only thing from the entire line that's sort of like that.
Yeah.
I kind of wish that they... Either that the entire line was more like military themed. Maybe you do more with like metal armoring on the shell.
Yeah.
Or maybe you have the shell continue up to the head so it looks like they're wearing like a military helmet.
Yeah.
Or you go full organic and you make them look like siphons on a squid or octopus or something like that.
Yeah. No, you are right about that, and it would make it more true to what the goals of this character seem to be.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. This evolution frustrates me. And individually, I think I really like all of them.
Yeah.
But put together, it doesn't make a ton of sense.
I would say that the Squirtle line is definitely the least cohesive of the evolutionary lines for the Gen 1 starters.
Yeah.
If we are going to maintain the tail, I would like if sort of this sort of little turtle tail instead became this like big plume up behind it.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I think that would make a lot more sense.
Maybe the like plume covers the cannons and like that's where the water gets shot out of or something like that.
Yeah. I wish that they had nodded to that.
Yeah.
In this final evolution, but that's okay.
Right.
We ready to rate them?
We are.
All right. I'm afraid of what I'm gonna say here. I don't want to. Oh, I actually also, now that I'm looking at a picture of the three of them all together, I think it's interesting that they've essentially done the same thing. They've done the same thing with the overall body color as they did in the other two starters, where the first character had a very kind of like
nice,
a very subtle version of the color,
right?
Like a very kind of like it puts the baby in baby blue,
right?
And it did that with Bulbasaur and Charmander too. And then in the middle was the color that didn't really suit the rest.
Yeah.
So it is in an evolutionary stage. And then the last one is kind of a dulled out, deeper version of the color. So I do like that. I think that that's interesting, having seen all three evolutions. Let's start with Squirtle.
8 out of 10.
I'm gonna agree on an 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think that's very fair. How about our middle boy?
Wartortle, I think I might have to give like a 6.5 out of 10 for Wartortle.
I was gonna go 6.
All right.
So can we go like maybe 6.3?
Yeah, 6.3.
Okay. And Blastoise.
Your call for Blastoise.
If I were giving him a solo score, like if it were just him, I would say probably maybe like a 7.5. But based on how it fits into the evolution, I'm gonna go probably closer to like a 6.8 maybe.
Wow.
Yeah. What do you got for this?
I think I would give it a 7.5.
Okay. Can we go maybe 7.2?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
And
All right.
those were the Gen 1 starters.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, I enjoyed this one a lot because, again, the characters are so recognizable.
Right.
Emblematic of the game.
Yeah.
And have probably been seen by people who have not played the game.
Right.
All right. Are we gonna do our pack?
We are.
All right. All right. So now comes the segment of the program where we close off the episode by opening a pack of Pokemon cards and talking very briefly about the art on each one. This episode, we are going to be cracking open a Steam Siege package.
Yeah.
Is there anything more you can say about that I cannot?
No, I mean X and Y Steam Siege, so it's from Generation 6. So, I mean, I never really opened too many of these during their time, but I remember that they were known for having shiny Pokemon. Like on the cover here is a shiny Mega Gardevoir. So I'll open it up and do the card trick, which is basically guarantees that you see the best card last.
And once again, this is for ASMR fans. This is the portion we are targeting over.
So first we have Nuzleaf.
I remember this guy.
Do you?
This is not what my card looked like, but I do remember the name. He's in a very sneaky pose in this picture.
Yeah.
What is his type? Does that say?
He is the wily Pokemon.
Wily. Okay.
Yeah, he's also dark type. He's grass dark type.
And is this the first in an evolution of?
No, C-Dot is the first one, which evolves into Nuzleaf, which will then evolve into Shiftry.
Okay.
Right. This card looks to be like 3D animated.
That's what I had thought too, and it's kind of interesting because the environment that he's in, parts of it don't look 3D animated.
Yeah.
So it's like the character was created differently and then plopped in this environment.
Yeah, I don't really like this art particularly much.
No, I think I would like it more if he was actually drawn in the style of the rest of the card.
Yeah.
Because the rest of it is very natural, kind of softer lines, and his 3D modeled figure doesn't really fit too well.
Yeah.
And it also doesn't show a lot of him.
No.
Like, I would
pretty much just the head.
Just the head, yeah. I would like it more if they actually showed, like, a better representation of the full character. But,
yeah.
You know, it has its...
Has its charm.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next one. The next one's just a trainer card.
Ooh, we didn't have it. I don't think we had any of those in the last pack.
No?
No, I think that we had all character cards.
These are Pokemon Rangers. They're pretty fun. Their
Okay.
spin-off games are pretty good.
We are at some point, I believe, going to talk about some of the dramatic fashion choices of some of the trainers,
right.
which I am very much looking forward to. This Ranger card, I quite like the outfits that they're wearing on this.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
They are pretty cool, and I like that usually I don't like this because I think that it's kind of sexist, but I like the differences in the female versus the male uniform.
Yeah.
Because they're unified enough where you know that they're, you know, if you saw them separately, you know they'd appear on the same card, but
right.
They're different enough where it gives them a little bit of uniqueness.
Cool. So next up we have Anorith.
Ooh.
So Anorith is a fossil Pokemon.
Cool.
So we will get to more of those, meaning that you have to restore it from a fossil in order to get it. It is a bug water type.
Wait a second. Hold on. An old shrimp Pokemon.
Yes, it is the old shrimp
Pokemon. That's very, very specific, but I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Is there a regular shrimp category?
I don't believe so. Okay. Not that I know of. I like Anorith just because of how weird it looks and its weird little claws. I also like its evolution Armaldo a lot.
Ooh, X-Scissor. Nice. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Like that.
Yeah, I like that it looks very cartoony.
Yeah, and I like that they've given him almost like I like the symmetry in this card a lot. Like, it almost looks like he's on, he's in, like, a stage set.
Yeah.
Like, with, like, the water just as a backdrop. It's very cute. I actually like it a lot.
Next up, we have Oshawott.
Aww.
Yeah.
I like him. What is he, he looks a little bit like... So it does say sea otter Pokemon. He looks a little bit like a tiny clown.
He does.
I like him. He's like a nicer version of Mr. Mime.
Yeah.
No, what is the first evolution?
Mime Jr.?
Mime Jr. Yeah, that's a little bit what he looks like.
It's funny that you mentioned that. Oshawott is the Generation 5 water starter.
Oh.
But in Generation 7, we do get a clown for the water starter.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. I think that there's a lot of interesting details to talk about there. Is he holding? What is he holding?
A shell that he keeps on his stomach when he's not holding it.
From afar, I thought it was a loaf of bread, like a little bun.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's probably pretty soggy by now, but this is a very cute card. I like that a lot of the light use is very soft.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, it makes him very soft and sparkly, and I like him a lot.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have Poniard.
Oh, no.
No?
No. No, he's not the one. He's not the one. I love the scenery in this card. I can't stand this dude.
No, why is that?
I don't like him. First of all, he looks super mad. He looks real mad. I understand he's a sharp blade Pokemon.
Yes.
I'm reading that right? What's he doing here, though?
I think he's just taking it easy.
Which is fine. Which is all. We all need our beauty rest, but doesn't this seem like an odd environment for him to be in? Doesn't he look a little out of place?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Poniard is one of those Pokemon that I can never really picture in the wild.
Yeah, he's too industrial.
Yeah.
Like, he's too industrial. He looks like he's wearing all, like, metal plating. He has a blade on his head. Yeah. He's gonna get rusty out here in this water.
That's true. His blade is fully dipped in the water.
He's gonna get rusted. But I don't know. I picture him in more of like in a more industrial setting. Yeah. He's gonna get a little bit messed up out there. But I don't like him. Nice.
Tangela.
Nice.
This is a pretty card.
Very
cartoony.
Love this style.
Yes.
I love it. I think it's very good for a Pokemon card. It's almost got a little bit of a Mario feel to it.
Yeah.
With the very thick outline on everything, especially the clouds in the background. But I like this card a lot. It's very kids book like.
It is.
And I like it a lot. And he's kind of cute.
Tangela is cute.
Kind of cute. And I like the little I like the little feet.
Yeah.
I like the design of this character a lot.
Yeah. Tangela's very simple but very cute.
Vine poke. Okay, that makes sense.
Have you ever seen Tangrowth?
I think so.
Yeah, Tangrowth I also like a lot.
Yeah, but so far out of this pack, this art is my favorite. I like that one a lot.
Joltik.
Ooh. Once again, we have what looks like a 3D modeled character in what looks like this one looks like a realistic environment. That looks more like a photograph.
Yeah.
But I don't mind it too much. What is this creature? Is there a real animal that this is based off of?
I believe it's a spider.
Really? Because it does only have 4 legs.
4 legs, but when Joltik evolves into Galvantula, I think it's a bit more obvious. And
I can see it in the eyes and the pincers, which is awesome.
Yeah. I think this also, like, head-on Joltik looks a lot more obviously like a spider. This kind of makes it look like some sort of hedgehog.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Too many spikes. Too few legs.
Larvesta.
Ooh.
This is pretty nice.
This is very pretty. This is very reminiscent of like ancient Asian art.
Yeah.
So bringing in the real college art major knowledge here. I did take an Asian art history course and had to go to an exhibit at the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston that had a whole exhibit on that.
Wow.
And this has a setting and kind of pen strokes that do look a lot like the art that they have on like scrolls and stuff, like the very, very long scroll art. And I can't totally figure out the character. I can't totally figure out what's going on, but the card itself is very pretty. Yeah,
Larvesta is supposed to be like a little silk grub.
But I can't figure out what I'm looking at.
Right.
Like,
yeah. it is hard to sort of get the outline of the creature.
Yeah, like, are these red things, like...
They're attached to him. I think that they're...
Which is the top end?
This is the head here.
That's the head, okay.
Yeah.
Is that an eye, maybe?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Still can't figure it out.
That's all right. We should do Larvesta and Volcarona soon. I think that you would like Volcarona a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that another evolution of this, or is that a different?
Larvesta
okay.
evolves into Volcarona.
Yeah, I can see this is strange because I can point out individual pieces, but I can't put them together.
Yeah.
That's okay. Nice.
Rapidash.
Always a good one.
Yes.
The card is very interesting. Like, there's... Do you want to take a swing at this first? Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
So this Rapidash is a reverse holo. So it has a holographic feature on the card itself, but part of the holographic feature is sort of fire symbols on it, which is cool. I enjoy that. In the
previous pack.
Yes.
I can't remember what type it was, but yeah, the card itself is very pretty. The art on this one is strange.
It looks like it's a crayon background. That's kind of what it looks like.
It does. It kind of reminds me of like cave paintings.
Yeah.
That's especially like the very I'm going to use the word basic, but I mean it in a good way. Like, the position of the character is, it's a horse, all right.
Yep.
Like,
just sort of being a horse in profile.
Being a horse, yeah. It is very, this is probably a little bit, if I tried to draw a horse from memory, what it would look like. But I like the card. I like the card a lot. It's got a little bit of extra color in it. Yeah. So it's not all... it's not too static with just fire color. I like that they give it a nice background, too.
Me too. Nidoking. I really like this art.
It's very good.
I really like this. I also like that he has a little Nidoran next to him.
That's the first thing I zeroed in on as well. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what might have been used to draw this. This looks a little bit like maybe a pastel of some sort.
Yeah.
Because even the lines that outline it are very soft.
Yeah.
And then it's colored in, but you can see each stroke. I'm guessing that this was either a like some sort of oil pencil or a pastel. But I like this one a lot.
Yeah, this is a really, really pretty one.
Yeah, and I also like purple is my favorite color. So I especially like this card because I think we have yet to see one with a purple background like this. But it's very different, and I really like it. I also should have been paying attention to the artists sometime, like, while we've been going through these, because a lot of the times you can identify an artist based on their style. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not.
This one's by Mina Nakai.
Are there any by my boy in here? Wait a minute. I recognize this name from a long time ago. Yukiko Baba. I remember that one. I like that style a lot. Where's Ken? Is Ken in here? I feel like I'd probably know if Ken were in here. Nope, we don't have any Ken Sugimori in here, but I'm sure he'll turn up.
Oh, I'm sure.
He had plenty, but he is definitely my favorite artist from the Pokemon. Who did the Tangela one? Because I like that a lot. Uyama. I like this. I would like to see.
Oh yeah, I've seen stuff by them.
I would like to see more of this because this is wonderful. I like this a lot.
Very good.
So Tangela wins the pack opening for today for me personally, and the loser is where'd he go?
Poniard.
Yes. Unfortunately, he's canceled this round, but that's okay.
You've heard it here first. Poniard is canceled.
I'm really sorry.
For me, I think Nidoking wins.
Okay. That would probably be my second.
Yeah. And I think Nuzleaf loses for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see a picture of like what he actually looks like eventually, but
yeah. So, all right.
Yeah.
First episode. How do you feel it went?
I feel that it went well. I'm glad that we started with the starters because I think that it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think that it gives people a better opening that they probably can relate to a little bit more by recognition of the characters.
Awesome.
But yeah, I'm happy with it. How do you feel?
I feel very good. Very excited to get into the swing of things.
Me too.
All right.
So this has been
The Art of Pokemon.
I'm Sav.
I'm David. This episode brought to you by Oak Laboratories, telling you when and where to use your bike, and most importantly, when not to. Thank you.
Is there a fun one-liner from the Pokemon series that we can do?
All right, I think I got it.
All right. Are you all right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so it's now been about 30 seconds since you said I think I got it.
I just need to refine it in my head.
Okay, all right.
Leave me alone. Leave me alone. I feel like... Oh.
I think I got it. Dies immediately.
All right. How about this?